The predator cubs refused to hunt alone. The human walked beside them, and they came back with more. The hunting grounds stretched endlessly beneath twin suns, a vast expanse of crystalline forests where prey moved like shadows through prismatic trees. Vash stood at the edge of the training territory, his sleek obsidian fur rippling with barely contained energy. Behind him, 7 other cubs waited, their claws flexing against the ground, their eyes bright with anticipation and fear. This was the day. The day they proved themselves worthy of their pack, worthy of the name Kethrin. Apex predators of 12 star systems. Instructor Morix circled them slowly, his massive form dwarfing even the largest cub. "You hunt alone," he growled, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of tradition. "You return with prey, or you do not return at all. This is our way. This has always been our way." Vash felt his heart hammering against his ribs. Alone. The word tasted like ash in his mouth. Every instinct in his body screamed against it. The cubs had trained together, played together, fought together since they could walk. They knew each other's movements, each other's strengths and weaknesses. Together, they were formidable. Apart, they were just small. "I will not hunt alone," Vash said quietly. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Morix's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. "What did you say?" "I will not hunt alone," Vash repeated, louder this time. "None of us will. We hunt together, or we do not hunt." Behind him, he heard the sharp intake of breath from his fellow cubs. Then, one by one, they stepped forward to stand beside him. "Together," whispered Kira, the smallest of them. "Together," echoed Thane, his voice steady despite his trembling legs. Morix's roar shook the trees. "You disgrace your bloodline. You disgrace every hunter who came before you. You are weak. They are right." The new voice cut through Morix's rage like a blade through silk. Every head turned toward the human who emerged from the shadow of the trees. Kalen looked unremarkable by Kethrin's standards. No claws, no fangs, no fur. His skin was soft, his frame lean rather than muscular. He carried no weapons, but his eyes held something that made even Morix pause. "Human," Morix spat the word like a curse. "This is not your concern. This is Kethrin tradition. Kethrin, tradition that is killing your species," Kalen said calmly. He walked forward until he stood beside Vash. "How many cubs have you lost to solo hunts in the past 10 cycles?" Morix's silence was answer enough. 47, Kalen continued. 47 cubs who might have survived if they had hunted together. 47 futures erased because tradition mattered more than adaptation. "We are predators," Morix snarled. "We do not need. You are predators facing extinction," Kalen interrupted. "Your birth rates are declining. Your territories are shrinking. And you cling to traditions that were designed for a different world, a different time." He placed a hand on Vash's shoulder. "These cubs understand something you have forgotten. Strength is not always solitary." Vash looked up at Kalen, gratitude and hope warring in his chest. The human had been on their world for only 3 cycles, a consultant from Earth's interspecies integration program. Most Kethrins ignored him. Some openly mocked him. But Kalen had watched the cubs train, had asked questions, had listened when no one else would. "If you interfere," Morix said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper, "I will report this to the council. The human will be removed. The cubs will be separated and sent to different packs, far from each other. Is that what you want?" Vash felt the others press closer to him, fear rippling through their group. Separated, never seeing each other again. It was almost worse than death, Kalen smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Report me," he said. "But before you do, let me make you an offer. Let these cubs hunt together. Let me walk with them, not to hunt for them, but simply to observe. If they fail, I will leave your world and never return. If they succeed," he paused. "If they succeed, you will allow them to continue hunting as a pack. And if I refuse, then I will take my report to the Galactic Council," Kalen said quietly. "A report detailing how Kethrin training protocols have a 63% mortality rate, how your species population has declined 40% in 50 years, how you refuse to adapt despite mounting evidence that your methods are failing." His voice hardened. "I am not just a consultant instructor. I am a witness. And Earth has significant influence in matters of endangered species protection. Morik's claws dug furrows in the ground. For a long moment, he stared at Kalen, then at the cubs. Finally, he stepped back. One hunt, he growled. One chance. But if even one cub dies, human, your interference ends here. Kalen nodded. Agreed. The hunt began at dawn. Kalen walked behind the cubs, far enough to not interfere, close enough to observe. He carried no weapons, made no sound. He was simply there. Vash led the group through the crystalline forest, using hand signals they had developed in secret during their training. Kira, with her exceptional hearing, took point as their scout. Thane and Dara covered the flanks. The others formed the core, ready to adapt to whatever they encountered. They moved as one organism, each cub aware of the other's positions without looking. When Kira signaled prey ahead, they shifted formation instantly. When Thane spotted a threat from the left, they adjusted course without a word. The prey was a razorback, a massive herbivore with armor plating and tusks that could gore a full-grown Kethrin. Alone, none of the cubs stood a chance. Together, Vash whistled the attack pattern. The cubs exploded into motion. Kira and two others created a distraction, their high-pitched calls drawing the razorback's attention. Thane and Dara circled wide, cutting off escape routes. Vash and the remaining cubs struck from behind, targeting the joints where the armor was weakest. The razorback bellowed and turned, but everywhere it looked, there were cubs, darting in, striking, retreating before it could counter. They wore it down through coordination, through trust, through the absolute certainty that their packmates would be exactly where they needed to be. When the razorback finally fell, all 8 cubs stood over it, panting but unharmed. Kalen watched from the tree lean, a small smile on his face, but Vash raised his head and whistled again. The hunt was not over. When the cubs returned to the training grounds at sunset, Morik's eyes widened. They dragged not one razorback, but 3. Plus 2 shimmer deer and a sky fisher that must have weighed twice what any individual cub could carry. They had not just succeeded. They had exceeded every expectation. The cubs stood together, heads high, as the entire instructor cadre emerged to stare at their haul. Impossible, one instructor whispered. Solo hunters bring back one prey at most. Sometimes nothing. But this. Morik approached slowly, circling the cubs and their catch. He examined each kill, searching for evidence of human interference. There was none. Every wound showed cub claws, cub fangs. Every strategy showed pack coordination. Finally, Morik looked at Kalen. You did nothing. I walked, Kalen said simply. I watched. That is all. Then how? They did it because they understood something crucial, Kalen said, moving to stand beside Vash. Hunting alone makes you a hunter. Hunting together makes you unstoppable. He gestured to the cubs, to their kills, to the proof lying before them all. Your tradition demands individual strength. But true strength is knowing when to stand together. Morik was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, he bent his head toward Vash. You and your pack may continue, he said quietly. And perhaps it is time we re-examined what it means to be Kethrin. Vash looked at his fellow cubs, at Kalen, at the future spreading before them like the hunting grounds under twin suns. They had refused to hunt alone. And they had come back with more than prey. They had come back with a new way forward.